What's up, everybody? Welcome back to GameScoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. This is Greg Miller, Ryan McCaffrey,
hello,
and Brian Altano. Today, we are talking Tomb Raider spoilers on our Tomb Raider Spoilercast.
Whoa! Look at that!
It's pretty good. We've all
$3,000 to get that graphic.
Worth
professional.
Worth every penny. We've all beaten the game.
Right. Don't watch this until you've beaten the game.
Yeah, that's the
away now.
whole point of this Spoilercast is to talk about the game. The people who have beaten it. So after you finish Tomb Raider, that's the right time to watch.
Put this aside till then.
Hurry up and finish the game.
Also true.
Pause the video.
Just pause
right
the
here.
video.
We'll wait. No, we
Uh,
won't.
I think so. I beat it last night. I clocked in at like 23 hours.
Okay.
Which is longer than a lot of people. But I like
Yeah.
to take my time and I like to explore a lot. I was like at 80% completion.
Wow.
I think that's what I was at. So.
Nice.
I don't think that I'm motivated. You can, after you beat the game, go back and find all the relics and documents and stuff,
Yep.
but I don't really feel motivated to do that.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
I didn't feel motivated to do it as I went. I actually really didn't do any backtracking during the game. In each area, I'd poke around a little bit, and if I found something cool, because actually, I will say the collectibles are mostly pretty interesting, particularly the ones that are backgrounds, that are bios on your friends or the other characters. But yeah, and I was never compelled to like, oh man, I got 100% this thing.
That was the interesting thing about it, right? Is that it felt to me like this mix of, everybody always compares it to Uncharted. For me, it felt way more like an Assassin's Creed game of, I had this story and this narrative, and then I could go off and I could go to this tomb and I could go do that. And pretty much only when I got beaten over the head, when they'd be like, there's a tomb nearby, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll go check out this tomb, all right.
Yeah, the tombs are like, they're supposed to be secret tombs, but it tells you every
exactly.
single
There's
time.
like white paint on the walls nearby.
You hear
Tomb
there's
here.
that noise that rings. It's like glung, 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 glung.
It
There's
even
a
says
tomb.
like a dinner bell.
secret
Yeah, it
tomb
really
Yeah.
is.
nearby.
I probably will go back and complete it 100%. I did a lot of the side stuff while I was playing, kind of like you did. I think when I finished, I was at 82%, which is a good amount of side stuff. I maybe missed a few tombs here and there. But it felt weird to go exploring throughout this game while knowing there was this threat in the background of like,
Yeah, you're
I gotta
supposed
save
to be
this
rescuing
girl.
your friend.
Yeah.
But a lot of games are like that, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always like an impending threat you're supposed to be taking care of, but then you're like, ooh.
Like, wait, hold on. I have some rocks I need to
Honestly,
get
that was
my
one of
hands
my
on.
favorite parts of Tomb Raider is that it is unabashedly a video game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, search these guys and you'll get some nuts and bolts that you can use to upgrade your stick and little hatchet to a giant awesome hatchet.
Well, and then you upgrade your rope to that whatever that device is that you can use
right,
to like
that
go
thing is
up.
ridiculous.
Like, what is that?
Yeah,
How
that
does
is-
that even work?
That was like, yeah, like her legs would be severed off the way. Like,
Yeah, the Rope-Matic 5000.
Yeah.
That was.
You can just find that on a rabbit in the woods.
Yeah.
If you look close enough.
So you say it's unabashedly a video game. It gets right to it at the beginning of the game, and I actually think that's maybe one of the game's failings. It doesn't really set things up for you very well at the beginning. When I started playing Tomb Raider, I was playing with my girlfriend. She's not a big gamer, but she likes to keep up with what's going on with games. So when there's a big game out, she likes to watch me play a couple hours of it. So we watched it right from the very beginning, and she was like, I have no reason to care about Lara. I have no reason to care about any of her friends because the game never gave you a reason to.
See, I don't agree about it for Lara. For Lara, I thought it was cool that we were this character and like there are, there's the, her struggling with the gun, blowing the first guy away, her reaction to that, falling down and getting stabbed. Like I was with her on that journey. But then when we were like, oh yeah, it's me, the dude in the escape button shirt. Like, what? Who the hell are you? Like, why do I care about you? And like doctor who's a douche.
I thought those characters could have been wonderful had they systematically murdered all of them.
Well, yeah, I mean that happens to
A
several
bunch of them, yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, there shouldn't have been anyone at the end of that game but you on a boat being like, holy shit, what just happened? Tomb Raider 2 in stores next year. Like, that's the way it should have gone. Instead, they were like, hey, you okay? Let's have a conversation about that. Like, I didn't care about those people. I didn't care about saving them. I wanted them all to die.
Like the only time it got interesting, I found a little journal from the woman, the black woman, who's like, writes this letter to her daughter that like confessing who
it's
who her
Ross.
father is. Yeah, the Ross,
Yeah.
the father, and this all touched me. I was like, this is awesome, but like it's way too late. Like I don't really care about this.
So the collector's edition comes with this sort of prequel graphic novel, Tomb Raider: The Beginning.
See how clean she is?
Yeah, this is.
That's how you know it's the beginning.
Before she got all dirty. It's hardback. It's not. It's pretty cool in that it does fill you in on the backstories of all these characters, and you do find out that Rhea's like has this daughter, and you find out that Whitman, James, was that his name? James Whitman, Whitmore,
I think it was
the
Walt
main
Whitman.
archaeologist guy. It's James Whitman. He's like the wormy archaeologist guy. He has this TV show. It's on its second season. It's airing right now.
Whitman's World.
Yeah, it's Whitman's World. They're about to go shoot the third
party
season,
time.
but
Excellent.
ratings are way down. So right before they're about to go off on this expedition, the studio pulls the funding. So he has to like scrape together some money. His wife is divorcing him because he had an affair with a 22-year-old girl. And he like tries to sell some like ancient artifacts to these Chinese guys, and they ended up like jumping him, and so he's like desperate, and that sort of gives him a lot more motivation, and you realize why he's such a little.
I actually liked
Sniveling toad.
Yeah.
the storytelling device they used early in the game. I liked a lot, where Lara would pick up the camera and watch footage that they shot
start
on
that,
the way
but
over,
then that
and
just
then they
stops.
abandoned that.
Yeah.
That was over. It never came back after about the third to halfway point of the game.
I loved how everybody was universally mic'd too.
Yeah.
There's one part where she's watching it, like they're not even on camera yet. They're below her inside the ship, and you hear them crystal clear, and then they come out.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So a lot of Lara's motivation is to save her friend Sam. Sam ends up getting kidnapped, and she's going to be sacrificed, right? Sam wasn't even supposed to be on this expedition. Like, Lara apparently signed up to go on the expedition because she was like an archaeology major, right?
Yeah.
And Sam was just her friend, and Sam was just like, in the beginning, she's just like hanging out in her like bathing.
God.
Yeah, she was just like coming
Oh
along
my.
to like hang out and get some sun.
Oh yeah.
But when the funding's pulled, she comes from a rich family, and she like gets her uncle to fund the expedition, and then she comes along, and she also can work a camera, so they're like
Convenient.
doing this ghetto way of like trying to film their show.
Gotcha,
so
gotcha.
That's kind of what was
Just like how we film it here.
Let me ask you guys something. Did you get the sense that there's something between them?
No.
You never got that
No.
sense.
You mean like that?
No, I mean there was a one of the journals, I think, was Sam's talking about how before the trip, like she was trying to bring Lara out of her shell.
Yeah.
And they were like partying in Europe, picking up dudes. So no, I never got anything.
I just wondered. At the very end, you finally save Sam, and when you come back to the ship, Lara's like carrying her.
Yeah.
Like she's carried her, I don't know how long, like,
Miles,
down this
by the
mountain
way,
like this. Like,
I
what?
thought for sure Sam was a red herring, that really it was Lara that they wanted to burn. And they never
Yeah.
went down that road, and I give them a little credit for that it wasn't the super obvious thing.
I think Matthias was a really lame bad guy.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. He was.
For sure.
Yeah, like a really over-the-top bad guy voice.
And,
Yeah.
and do we even fight him
And
in the
bird
final battle? I
crap all
don't
over
remember.
It was a quick time event.
You did,
Okay,
yeah. You
like-
barely fought him. You mashed the LNR buttons. You
Well, so-
dodged out of the way.
Oh, right. When you finally got the dual pistol.
And it was
again.
like dual
Yeah.
pistols. Remember that from the 90s?
That was
And you're
cool.
Like, wow.
I like that. I thought that was a nice
That was a
little
nice
throwback.
touch.
It is
for
a nice
sure.
touch. Like, so I knew that it was in the game somewhere because in the pre-release copies that were provided, like one of the conditions that Crystal Dynamics stipulated was do not spoil the dual pistol. So I knew that was
Thanks
coming.
a lot.
I knew that was
That's
coming.
why I never read those
Yeah,
things.
no.
Yeah. I knew that was coming at some point, but if I didn't know that was coming, I don't know that I even would have registered. Oh yeah,
I thought
dual
it was.
pistols.
I did.
It's over in like a second.
Because there was a point where she picked up, she had the new gun, and she picked up Roth's gun, and so she had to, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and then nothing happened, and then she finally did it, I was like, oh, that's
and it's like supposed to be the climactic moment of the game. That's how you kill the bad guys with the
See,
dual
and that's
pistols.
what's weird.
That's kind of cool.
That's what's interesting about the whole Tomb Raider thing is that none of us really connect with these characters. The story isn't that great. There isn't a great boss battle, but the game was so much fun.
The game
to
is so
play.
much
Yeah.
fun, and
The
I
game
would
is
say
so much fun to
I do
play.
connect with Lara. Just
I
through
agree, I agree.
experiencing all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff. But the other characters are all kind of dull and they're kind of stereotypes.
So I want to bring up one of the major problems I had with the game was the first time Lara kills somebody, where it's
Yes.
this quick time event where it's the guy's trying to imply that maybe something worse than regular violence, maybe there's some sexual violence that's going to occur, and she manages, turns the gun on him and just boom, a very disgusting intentional display of just brains and guts everywhere. And she's clearly mortified by it. She's whimpering, she's crying, she's it's like, okay, great, the Crystal Dynamics is taking this head on. It's like we're gonna get into this and see how this affects her as a character, but not easily 10 minutes later you have a pistol, and I can't remember if by then you had the bow and arrow, but you just massacre an entire village of the island guys, and she seems completely unaffected. And I thought that was they really set it up nicely, and then just completely dropped the ball. And that I thought that was a big letdown for me because there was so much potential there to explore something bigger in a video game.
I get that. I don't know how they could have fixed that outside of her just being like, sorry, like every time. I mean, she had to kill people because otherwise you're playing a game with no enemies.
Maybe I guess I'm not a game designer. I'm paid to just maybe someday. You never know. But no, I mean maybe you. I just felt like it happened. The transition from horrified human
I totally get it. Like,
to mass murder happened too fast.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have this like heartstring pulling moment where like she has her first kill, it means so much, and then also the video game where you get to kill thousands of people.
Yeah.
You can't have both of those. So
Yeah,
it's either
maybe
give or take one of the other.
Maybe don't put me 10 minutes later, in a field of 1,000 guys. Maybe just, let's
slowly ramp it up.
go.
For me,
yeah,
I thought it did that. I thought it did do that because it is one of those things. Totally, it's emotional, and then I wasn't hung up on her not reacting to it, but on the fact that she was getting better, and you're unlocking these gruesome kills. And I remember like Colin was watching me play, and he's like, "Why don't you beat the?" Like I'd run up on dudes, and I couldn't melee them yet. I didn't know that would unlock later. And he's like, "Why don't you melee them?" I'm like, "I can't." And then it was like, "Oh, you can later on as you grow and you do all these things." And there's a moment when you get that grenade launcher for the first time, and you throw open those doors, and she's like, "I'm coming for all of you," and I was like,
starts to get
"That
pretty badass,
is
yeah.
I like that.
awesome."
I like
that
that a
was
lot.
such a great, empowering moment, and that's also when I thought the game was building to its ending already, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Man, this was fast." And then there's explosions and buildings falling down. I'm on this helicopter, and then the game keeps going, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah,
cool.
most of that island, that island is made entirely of brittle, crumbling wood. It's just nothing but wood falling the whole time.
Very flammable, brittle,
Yes.
crumbling.
Only in sections though. Only certain things are flammable, and it burns out.
We pointed this out during our live stream. I thought it was amazing how many different broken planes were on that island. There are like 16. Half of the buildings were made of broken plane parts.
Yeah.
And then shanty towns on top that were constantly
Right.
on fire.
But at least it was a plot device.
Yeah. One thing I thought was strange that they sort of teased throughout the entire game, which I guess you have to do this in an island full of just regular people, was there was the big hammer man, right?
Yeah.
That guy, and he just kept popping up throughout the game. And you're like, when am I going to fight him? And at one point I just thought he died because like this whole
Right.
city collapses.
You're talking
He
about
gets blown off the
Oni,
bridge.
the demon guy, or
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you have that big fight at the end, and it's sort of just like dodge, roll underneath him, run behind
Yeah.
him, shoot him.
Yeah.
Dodge, roll underneath him.
I was like,
behind
how
him.
did people not do this? How did people
Yeah.
not know how to beat this guy?
Yeah, I mean when he first shambles by, you can see
He's
see him
dragging
out
the
the
thing,
window.
yeah.
My first thought was, oh no, let's not go down this road. And then they drop it entirely
Yeah.
for hours
Yeah.
and don't come back to it until many hours later.
He's
in the
he's a
game.
very like Resident Evil 4, 5, 6 kind of enemy. He doesn't
Yeah.
really feel right for that game. Why is this guy on this island? Like,
And a lot of people point back to, well, the original Tomb Raider games had supernatural elements, but for me, it's kind of like, with the Dark Knight now. This reboot is intentionally grounded, and it's sold on, it's much more grounded in reality. Lara's much more of a real person. And so the supernatural stuff, they didn't get super deep into it, but it didn't sit too well with me. The whole end of the game with the mystical force
I mean,
field.
it's very Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like when we couldn't get off the island and like you heard like the ghost whisper, I was like, oh man, like it feels like this is kind of like Lost now. It's like
When it was originally revealed, or eventually revealed rather, it was disappointing because there were journals and points throughout the game where it hinted at, maybe there's some, because there were guys there doing military research in World War I or II. It's like, maybe there's some sort of weird machine that they've set up, but no, it turns out to be the ghost of a guy.
Ghost.
Yeah. Her face melts off in a very Raiders of the Lost Ark type of way.
Yeah.
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 Do you know the original title of the game was Tomb Raider Ascension?
I didn't know that.
huh?
But then they dropped it and they were just going to reboot it as Tomb Raider. And
good
then, of
for
course,
them.
God of War Ascension is also coming out next week.
Very interesting.
Interesting coincidence.
What else? Anything else?
Multiplayer's not that good.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that
Spoilers.
I played through the entire game and then like lent it to Colin, and then I was like, oh yeah, there's multiplayer in there.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't. The only thing that caught me off guard, I was telling Damon, was I finished it and I had barely any trophies.
Right.
I was like, what happened here? You
Yeah.
know, I had like 82% of the single player campaign. I should have most of the trophies, and I guess
Well, it's like it's max everything out, do all
Yeah.
these things, and it's one of those. I was playing it and I was like, I will totally try to platinum this, and then I looked at the list and I went right to the bottom. And it's like reach level 16 multiplayer. I was like, see,
no.
I'm never. I don't even care about trophies in
Yeah.
this game now because it's not even worth my time.
I did feel that there were some environments that, and this kind of bummed me out because I really loved how open a lot of the areas were.
Yeah.
But I get to some environments and I was like, this is a multiplayer map. You built this whole shanty town. Like, there's way too much for me to find here. There's like, they hit a coin in one corner and a plate in the other corner. But everything else was just like, they want you to walk down this tunnel straight through it pretty much. But there's all this crap around the outside where you could duck and cover and hide. And I'm like, this is just for multiplayer.
Yeah, that didn't occur to me at the time, but now that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting. Most games tend to front load their best content because, there's statistics, there's research that shows a small percentage of people ever actually finish a game and see the end.
Right.
And so for me, man, when the fact this game was the opposite of usual, where it really didn't get good until about 4 or 5 hours into it, was surprising and rare. Because man, at the beginning I was like, with how scripted it was, how linear it was, how full of QuickTime events it was, I thought, man, this is decent. The presentation's awesome. Man, I'm not sure this is going to be great. And then finally, we start getting weapon upgrades and new weapons.
I think the moment where it all clicked for me was the plane crashes. You run through that town. You go up that little hill, and you step onto that snare, and you're flipped upside down.
Yeah.
And you're shooting people upside down, which I don't know if that's ever been done in a game before like that. But I loved it. It totally caught me off guard.
It was cool.
And then the second you get out of the situation, you're like, holy crap, that's one of the weirdest, most craziest scripted events I've ever played in a video game. There's that rope, and you get the rope, and you pick it up, and you're like, now I have rope arrows. And you're like, wait a minute, this game is totally starting to open up. That was the exact moment it clicked with me. And I was like, this is Arkham City, this is Resident Evil 4.
And you remembered back to earlier in the game when you'd see doors you couldn't get through with the rope.
And you thought they
I
were
was like,
just,
what the hell's going on? What do I need?
Yeah, and I thought they were just decoration, because I'd played other games where you're like, oh, you need the lion key on the lion door, and I only have the shield key. They were very dumb 90s
What's up,
video
Voltron?
games. Yeah, exactly. But this one was just like, oh, there was some ropes on some door, because some guy put them there in his shanty town, because this place is going to burn down anywhere, so why not, why put anything nice on your door?
You mentioned a lot of people not beating the games. The game ends with a message, right? Like, it's from Crystal Dynamics saying we tried our best to make the best game we could.
Oh, that message.
That message. And they say, thank you for taking the time to finish our game. I thought that was nice.
nice.
Then there are pictures of the developers.
The message I didn't like that I thought you were going for.
I know what you mean.
I actually liked the ending of the game. I thought there was enough resolution, and yet it also still set up, okay, we've finished our reboot, we've set Lara up for future adventures. Fade to black, and then the damn marketing tagline pops up in huge letters, a survivor is born.
Yeah, that was a
come
little
on, you're
heavy-handed.
beating me over the head with it. I get it. You're kind of ruining your own ending here a little bit.
I did not like it. I was fine with it.
You're fine with it?
I don't know. It annoyed
Well,
me.
at least it wasn't a hashtag.
I saw some people, mostly game writers on Twitter, were complaining. I don't know if you saw this, Greg, that the writers for the game aren't listed until 6 minutes into the credits.
I didn't see that.
And I guess they were arguing that they should have been more up towards the top of the game. I didn't really.
I don't
think
agree
so.
with that.
I mean, weren't we just talking about how the story and the characters aren't really the strong
Yeah,
point
I mean,
of it?
I don't think they should be buried in the bottom or anything, but I mean, that wasn't a game where I walked away and I was.
This was a game where you're like, this is a game. I like to play this game.
it's a game. It's a video game.
Yeah.
There's crates with prizes inside of it all over an island, and you smash them and you open up and you upgrade it at a campfire.
When the credits roll on a movie, it's the director, it's the principal actors, and then down the way it's screenplay or writers. I don't see the beef there.
Real quick, Brian. It was driving me crazy. Hanging upside down shooting, Dead Space.
Oh, really?
Dead Space 2, I think, when you fall out of that train when you finally get where you're going.
Cool.
Right. Yeah, I love the game. I think what's unfortunate is it takes years to make a game like that, and then you finish it in a few days, and it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll play that again in a year, 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think, if 2 or 3 years down the line, they're like, we have another one coming out, I'll play through this again. Just because I'm kind of interested in playing it again, not immediately, somewhere down the line. And this is where you said you finished it, and it was like, hey, now go back to that one and find some crap. It's cool. I was kind of hoping for like a new game plus type of situation.
Yeah.
You get in a lot of
you
games.
can just start with all those abilities.
Right. I mean,
I expected that, actually.
I did too, but then I thought about it's different for the pacing of this type of game because there's only 4 weapons in the whole game, really. When you find that first bow and arrow, it's a big thing. When you find that first handgun, it's a big thing. So if like the first stage, you're in that first tomb or that first cave or whatever, and you have fully maxed out everything, en route to maxing everything out again, it would have screwed up the pacing of everything. But I mean, that's the point of a new game plus, right? Is it kind of turn the game into your sandbox.
How great was the fire arrow?
Oh man, the fire was
It was good times.
And then I liked it when you get the grenade arrows too. I was spamming those.
Yeah, I would always do the thing where I forgot which one I had loaded just because I was playing so much.
Right.
And I'd go into this area to like stealth kill.
Yeah. Well,
Oops! Blew up his head, and some guy's like, "Oh my God, you killed my friend's head is destroyed."
I don't know if you noticed, but I think every enemy in the game has the same face of the guy from your first kill. They're not like, it's not like 1,000 unique guys. It's like that guy.
Oh, okay. Was that a thing that like everyone reminds you of your first
exactly.
kill? Or was that just, they got lazy.
I mean, it's just like, that's why so many games the bad guys have masks, right?
Right.
Like,
it is a mystical island. It could,
maybe there is an explanation.
Yeah, I did. I think we talked about this in the live stream, but there was that whole part where she's in the ice area and she's like really cold. And she kills all those guys, and she's like, "Oh my God!" And all the guys she kills are all wearing jackets, hats, hoodies. Like, take a jacket. Take a jacket off the street. Keep on going. Warm up.
He doesn't need it anymore.
Yeah.
I love the game.
Me too.
Me too.
It was a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Tomb Raider 2.
I know.
Or Ascension or whatever.
Well, it'll be Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider 2 will be coming. Hopefully not in the
Confirmed.
too distant future. Thank you for joining us for this Tomb Raider Spoilercast. Stay tuned for a lot more video game discussions here on IGN GameScoop.
Ah!